It is so great to be with you all this evening. And I want to especially welcome anyone that's new to the meeting, anyone that's new to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. We welcome you with open arms. And I hope that you find a home here like I found my tribe. It's just beautiful to be here. And Teresa and Allie, a wonderful job in this meeting. I love to get into this meeting because I know that anywhere where we're just sharing this love for God, this God who has set us all free from this desperate, hopeless state of mind and body, man, how can we not? How can we not, literally being pulled out of the gates of hell, the pits of hell, and all by just one drunk pulling me out, or another, like we all do. And you guys, I can attest to the fact that Teresa and Allie, they walk their talk. We've broke bread together. We've sat in Allie's backyard, and Allie's a dad, and he's a proud father, and he's a proud husband. And Teresa, man, she takes this thing. I saw her, I'm going to brag on her a moment. I saw her at the Fellowship of the Spirit in Toronto, and her and Peter were doing it together. And she poured out her heart all day long. And you know what this girl was doing right after the meeting? She was working with a newbie. She was working with a newcomer. Our book talks about we'll be inconvenienced, and our phones will ring all times of day and night and things like that. And I know that. So I just love you guys. You guys you truly are walking the fellowship of the Spirit and hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. And like I know for you guys, that's a far place from where I came from. I knew that I was never going to be good enough for this God. I never was going to be good enough. Oh, let's qualify. Yeah, I do qualify. I'm a drunk. My sobriety date is November 11th, 1989. And I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. And I sponsor a bunch of women. There's a few of them on here tonight. And I don't know, it's just really, really great to be here. And it's always an honor and a privilege to be used by God. And it's so funny. Like last night I was just like super excited, and God's like, I don't know if any of you are like that. It's like, go here, go here, go here, go here. And then I told Peter, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what God's going to do. So I never know what God's going to do. And, I kind of missed it a little bit. Sunday night, Allie sent me a text, and he's like, oh, do you have your topic for discussion? And I was driving down the road. I was heading home from Mass, and I was just like, it was just like the first thing that came to me. And it's like, I've kind of learned to trust my gut. As we grow in this relationship with God, we learn to trust and rely upon it. And it also says that, we can pay for this in all, absurd ways. And boy, oh boy, I could write a book on that too. When I followed that one, I was like, nah, probably not a good idea, but the deal is, and I was looking for this prayer. There's this prayer by Merton, and he's talking about, and I think I left it in my office on the desk. Just the fact, God, I know that it pleases you, God, that I'm trying to please you. I'm taking the action to try to please you. And today, I just know that about my relationship with God. Anytime, prayer can be like, oh, is it holy, holy? And is it like this? But sometimes it's just help. And sometimes it's just thank you. And sometimes it's just, I love you. I heard someone say the other day, and it just hit my heart so strong, that don't you think for all that God does for us, don't you think sometimes God just wants to hear, hey, I love you? And that just really hit my heart. Sometimes we petition to God to get us out of this mess, or or praying for somebody. And we're supposed to go to God like that with all that stuff. And it's just something I've really put into practice lately, is just, hey, God, I love you. I just love you. You're my best friend. You're my primary relationship. Every other relationship I have in my life is a direct result of my relationship with God. I know that. So our book talks about, see to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. And great events, man, used to mean to me when I was running was, do I got a nice perm? Or my 1980s pants tight enough? Do I have enough money? Are people looking at me? And it used to mean a whole lot different stuff than what it means today. Today's a great event when you see that light go on in somebody else's eye. Today, a great event is just sitting with my sweetheart on a Saturday night, and we had a great event. Saturday night, we went on a date and we went to Cracker Barrel, and it was a great event. It was romantic. It was love, and it was breaking bread. And I think, that's what home groups are about. That's where it started, was just sitting at a table, a bunch of drunks, and breaking bread and sharing our hearts. And that's what we get to do in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Amen, man. I tell you, that stuff fires me up today. The things I thought I wanted in life and what I have today. And my home is full of love. People give me things, like our little gal Stephanie, she's a miracle. She gave me a little butterfly pin. I wanted to wear that tonight. And, I heard a man say this, that, fill your house with things that inspire you, things that, make you happy. And they might be the silliest little, I'll find a little piece of plastic that's shaped like a heart on the beach, and I'll bring it home and go, Peter, look what I found, and that's what I know about God. We read it in spiritual experience. I mean, about the educational variety. And when I first came to, man, I went to treatment, and some of that stuff and some of that walk with God was like, I didn't even know this till the other day, that it was a quote by Einstein. I didn't even know it was Einstein, that a coincidence is when God remains anonymous, and I had all these coincidences that started happening in my life. And I started seeing the world through, like our friend Sandy says, or through Chuck C, excuse me, a new pair of glasses. I started seeing something different, and this life of 31 years, almost 31 years of sobriety, no fronts, right, Teresa? No fronts. And it's just been this gradual progression. It's been this aha moments. And there are days through this prayer and walking prayer and opening my eyes in prayer and whatever that's going to be, when this came to me the other day, when it said, we shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. So it's one of the shouldn'ts. I don't know that there's a lot of shouldn'ts in this book. I mean, I know that I got this marker that says the 60 shoulds of Alcoholics Anonymous to find in the big book, but it says that we shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Okay, we can take shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer a couple different ways. This is what God just really stirred in my heart. First of all, my partner Peter, that's on here, and he's got to leave later on, talks about, we should shout this from the rooftops, this power of God, and that's true. It's like when my sponsees call, and a lot of times when they have questions, it's like, have you prayed about that? I can't get anybody sober. Guess what? If I get to take credit for the fact that I got somebody sober, then when somebody dies of this disease, and I got to take the credit for that too, and I don't want that responsibility. But what I can do for fun and for free is share my experience, strength, and hope. What I can do is is, man, reach down in that pit of hell with you and help pull you out. Scoop by scoop, fire by fire, line on line, whatever that is. Get your butt in the car, get in my old 2008 Subaru, and let's go to a meeting, man. That's what I can do, because people did it for me. And I will never forget that as long as I live. The heroes that we all get to have in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we can talk about Margie, and we can talk about CB, and we can talk about Steve, and we can talk about Vicky and Cam, and all these people. We can talk about all these names of these people that some people will never know. But these are the people that, through their prayer, through their meditation, through things that they did, by them cultivating their time with God. Because guys, that's the deal, man. God doesn't get me sober just so, hey, yay, Marion's sober. That ain't what this is about. It's so that I can reach my hand out and pull somebody else up. So the one way I look at it, we shouldn't be shy about this matter of prayer. And the other way I look at it is this. And I wanted to share with you this little experience I had, and it was kind of radical. So here's what this reading says, and this is what happened for me, and this was quite recently. I had some justifiable anger. I had a hurt in my heart, and I'd been writing inventory, and I didn't like what that felt like inside of me. And I'd been writing, and I'd been praying the sick man's prayer and the freedom from bondage prayer. And somehow every time some of the thoughts of that came, it would just hook me. And see, our book talks about that, resentments are number one offender, any of that stuff. It shuts the sunlight of the Spirit, and I cannot afford to not walk in the sunlight of the Spirit. And I know the longer and longer and longer I'm around here, when I get opinions on outside issues, on politics, on religion, on blah, 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 that's all out there in the world, I'm in a lot of trouble if I'm forgetting what my primary purpose is. Why God set me free in the first place, man. Playing the role that God's assigned me to play. So I had this hurt. And from this one hurt, it's just like any hurt. What happens is if I focus on the hurt, then the hurt grows. But it's if I focus on the love grows. And so what happened was I just got caught up in this thing. And I was just begging God, help me with this, And so one of my favorite acronyms for God is GOD. I love God in a million, billion ways. But one of my ways I connect, I'm a hippie chick from the Pacific Northwest, and I am a great outdoors woman. Like, I love outside. I love it. I'm alive when I can breathe it and feel it. And I went down to the ocean, and I decided I was going to have a talk with God. And it's really interesting. My friend Timmy P gave me this book the other day. And Timmy, this is where this comes from. I'm looking at you right now, bud. And this is what it says. It says, acquire the habit of speaking to God as if you were alone with God. Speak with familiarity and confidence as to your dearest and most loving friend. Speak of your life, your plans, your troubles, your joys, your fears. In return, God will speak to you. Not that you'll hear audibly words in your ears, but words that you'll clearly understand in your heart. And so what I did was I walked into the ocean. I have a lot of talks with God in the water. But we were going to have it out. We were just going to have it out. And guys, if you're new in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, our big book says God does not make too hard of terms for those who seek him. And I'm standing in the water. I'm up to my neck. and I'm just going for it. And I'm sharing my heart with him. I'm scared. I'm bruised. I'm hurt. I'm offended. I can't, no matter how much I pray, you're not taking this away. And I was just going for it. This guy was snorkeling by, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm swearing that he's trying to hear what I'm saying or whatever. And it was profound. Because that's, you guys, that's what we got to do in this primary relationship with God. It's not like, because I always thought, you guys, I grew up in poverty, man. And I know Teresa knows this. I mean, people around know it doesn't make me an alcoholic, but we had 7 kids and a pot of potato soup and fought over, whatever was in the fridge, and there was drinks flying and, all that crazy stuff. And so I was used to just, there was the pretty girls at school who had the bows and the ribbons and the dolls and the bikes and the little white picket fences. And they were these little God girls. And then there's me. And I was always like, I'm not good enough for this God. I'm not good enough for this God. And what I've come to find out is when God started storming in my life, when I started building this relationship with God, I didn't have to clean up to go to God. Mercy's not like that. Grace is not like that. If God knows every hair on my head, and God, deep down inside, our big book talks about, is inside of every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea of God. I can go as I am. I can go in the ocean a little bit angry, a little bit broken, well, actually a lot of bit broken. And I can go to him like this says. Speak to him like you're speaking to your loving friend. All my troubles, all my joys, all my fears. See, guys, we all measure up. And the deal is guess what? I'm going to tell you a big fat secret right now. You're all God's favorites. We are all God's favorite. My friend told me one time, God loves you as if you're his only child. Wow. Wow. That's a cool thing. So that means when I'm messy, when I'm dirty, when I'm crazy, when I'm this, when I'm that, it's not clean up, suit up, go to God now. No, go to him like I am. I remember one time I was like missing my kids really bad. I hadn't seen them in a long time. I'm riding my bike and I'm crying my eyes out. If you ever want to get a good cry out, do it when your adrenaline's pumping. Man, that's like, wow, it's so amazing. It's so cleansing. So that's the thing. That's the 2 aspects of what God was showing me about this. Shouldn't be shy on the matter of prayer. I'm not going to water it down and tell you if I'm helping you and I sponsor you, or I'm talking on a Zoom meeting that, that I'm keeping myself sober. Peter talks this story about, all the work he did, and then the light bulb comes on later on, we're as enlightened at any given moment as we are. But I don't work for this stuff. I mean, God's given me the want to, God's given me the gusto, God's given me the drive to do this. And I steal Peter's lines all the time. I get, whatever. Not steal, but knowing that I'm known by my Creator. I don't know what happened in the ocean that day, but there's some things that were released off of me. And it was really funny because the lifeguard was blowing his whistle and like going like this to come in. I'm like, oh, did they think they had a crazy lady out there in the ocean? I don't know what was going on with that. But, and then I laid on my back and I said my 3rd step prayer, floating, which is really cool. And I said my 7th step prayer. And I love that our 7-step prayer is our first step prayer for life. And, how am I going to show up to the rest of the world? And, it started this chain of events, and it started this thing in my life, and I'm free. God set me free. And I know that for me, see, I can't muster up the strength to be sober on my own. God has to do that. Recently, I'm not quite, it's like not my proudest thing in the world, but I'm proud right now, is I have quite a few days without smoking a cigarette. And I didn't pick that day. God picked that day. And right now, like, the obsession and compulsion's been removed. Every time I've tried to do that before, it's been like, hold on, or, just like the ways we did it when we were drinking. It was like, I always say this, like, I'm the kind of girl, when I quit drinking, I'd go from the first half of step 1 immediately to the 9th step, making amends. It'd be like the next morning, it's like swearing off with her, hey, everybody, guess what? I'm getting sober. And aren't you glad, And I'm really sorry I was such a jerk last night. I'm really sorry I puked on your couch, whatever that is. I go immediately into, and I meant it with my whole heart. But I just couldn't pull it off. And so, it goes on to say this. I just want to read a little bit more here. That we shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. So I know this too. Any conversation I have in God, constant thought of God, carrying it into all my affairs, right, is a prayer. It's a prayer. Shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men or women than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. See, at the beginning of spiritual experience, it says we must have a spiritual experience sufficient enough to overcome our alcoholism. See, I don't know. See, that to me is like a holy fear. It strikes a holy fear in me. There is such thing as holy fear. And what that is I don't know when the day comes. I don't know when the moment comes. I don't know when the strange mental blank spot might come. See, I might be 38 days or whatever it is away from 31 years of sobriety, but I don't know if there's ever or ever will be a strange mental blank spot that'll come. I experienced that at 1.5 years sobriety. I had a drink in my hand, sitting at a wedding reception. It was in my hand. And I can tell you with all the truth and honesty that I know, I have no idea how it got there. How, in God's name, does a drink get here and something came between that? Our book talks about we recoil from it like a hot flame. Man, I'm telling you, that sucker went down on the table and I was out the door. That's holy fear, guys. So if I have to have a spiritual experience, live in this spiritual experience, sufficient enough to overcome my alcoholism, I don't know how many prayers that takes. I don't know how many steps that takes. I don't know how many inventories that takes. I have no idea how much of all of that I need. So today, what I know is I need to put that into practice on a regular basis. Some days, regardless, it might just be trudge. And I know that kind of has a good meaning too. Some days it might be that no matter how fired I am up in prayer, that I'm just kind of moving my feet. And I'm kind of okay. Some days are just like that. I like the effect produced by God. And I love that, as a matter of fact. I love that. But I know that today God gives me the want to, and that God gives me people with skin on, or people with skin on. We all have skin on. God gives me himself with skin on, and it does not have to come from somebody with more years of sobriety than me. It does not. I work with some wonderful people today in the spiritual experience, and I'm telling you, they were fire. And by the time I was done with them, it was like, hey man, thanks for helping me today. See, that's the deal. When I'm working with a drunk and I'm with a girl, and it's like, man, thank you. Man, when this whole pandemic first started, I know, is that about a matter of prayer? But it's kind of 12-step too, but oh wow, whatever. That is what we're supposed to do with all of it, right? Give it away. So when the whole silly, ridiculous little pandemic that's just really this big, I promise, in God's eyes, it's a little tiny thing. But when I was making a big deal out of it and I was scared and I was freaking out and whatever, my phone was ringing off the hook. And man, do you think they were calling for themselves? Probably. But what happened is what it did for me. See, I cannot outgive God. I can't. The more I give, the more I get back. And sometimes it's in such an abundance, it's just incredible. And sometimes it feels like answering that phone one more time might kill me, but that's okay. It's good. I had this like in prayer one time. I read this book. It's called God Calling. It's kind of a mess. I'll show you. It's right here. So I got all these little goodies around me. I got a little candle over here going. I got some incense burning over there. But this book is like all like, it's kind of shattered. And I've carried it with me for a long time. But I've come to believe when those sponsees call and that phone rings and it's busy, that it's God calling. It's God calling. God calling for me. And I love this life that God's given me in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And to be a part of something so great. I ain't no better than anybody else. And I ain't no less than anybody else. And that's not proper English, but oh well. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous taught me. It right-sized me, head up, shoulders square, Peter's dad says. I love that. So if you're new to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, hope you heard something that might help you not take a drink tonight. And if you're thinking about taking a drink, let us know. Put your number in the chat. I think they probably do that kind of thing. And I have no idea how long I've talked, but I think my tank is empty. Love you all, guys, and so great to be with you tonight. Thanks.